So, you've been playing Scriptor, but you're not satisfied. Why can't spells do this? I need more uses for diamonds. I wish I could share dictionaries from my single-player world. Well, I'm here to help. I'm here to show you all the wonderful ways you can customize Scriptor Magicae, from the simple to the advanced. I'll start off easy, so if you're here for the simple stuff, we'll get right to it. I've also included timestamps in the description to each section in this video. Bear in mind, all instructions in this video are for Scriptor 1.1.0 and newer on Minecraft 1.20.4, and not all features noted are available in earlier versions. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's get to probably the simplest customization: Community Mode. Community Mode is a way to play that enables an alternate word generator and changes some features. In short, what this does is lets you share your dictionary across single-player worlds, servers, and more. Every world which is generated in Community Mode will have the same dictionary, even across worlds, servers, mod loaders, anything. This is meant to let you share your progress as you work through a dictionary with friends in a Discord server and buddies in their own single-player worlds, stuff like that. Enabling Community Mode is easy. If you want to enable it for all worlds, you can install the mod by dropping the mod jar into the mods folder, or through your launcher of choice. If you want to enable it for a single-player world, just install the datapack to the world by dropping the datapack zip into the world's datapack folder. Easy. Bear in mind, with Scriptor Community Mode active, you cannot find all words in one world, so you will need to share information with other players. If you plan on playing a single-player world and don't want to share information with other players, probably don't install Scriptor Community Mode. And next up is Debug Mode. Debug Mode is just as simple. It is intended for people who want to play around with Scriptor without learning the dictionary for a world or typing in esoteric words. This just replaces every word with its dictionary key. For instance, the projectile subject is replaced with subject projectile. Enabling Debug Mode is the exact same as Community Mode. Install the jar on Fabric or Forge the same way, or drop the zip in the datapack folder for the world you're enabling it on. Easy peasy. To step it up a notch, we'll get to another easy method of customization: Gamerules. These are an easy way to customize parameters in Scriptor Magicae on a per-world basis. They can be changed at almost any time in-game, and when changed, the new rule will take effect instantly, just like in vanilla. All the game rules in this mod start with the text Scriptor and a colon, so it's easy to look through all the options available. At the time of this video's release, the game rules are as follows. Tome Max Cost is a rule that allows you to set the maximum cost of a spell cast through a tome. Any spells attempted which would cost more than this will fizzle. Chalk Max Cost, similarly, is a rule that allows you to set the maximum cost of a spell cast through chalk circles. Again, spells which would cost more than this will fizzle. Vocal Max Cost is much like the last two, but for vocal casting. By default, this is set to -1, which disables this limit. Vocal Hunger Threshold is the cost after which spells cast vocally will start to inflict hunger on the user. After spells reach this point, the duration and level of hunger inflicted will start scaling automatically. Vocal Damage Threshold is the cost after which spells cast vocally will start to inflict damage on the user. Similarly, after they reach this point, the amount of damage inflicted will start scaling automatically. And for now, those are all the game rules added by Scriptor. They're a pretty straightforward way for server owners or map makers to adjust balance or disable specific methods of casting. But what if you're interested in adding custom spells to Scriptor, or changing the way words are generated? What if you want to prevent certain words from spawning or being used outright? Well, then what you need are Datapacks. Datapacks are the heart and soul of Scriptor customization, and are actually how a good portion of the base mod is made. Almost everything that Scriptor adds can be tweaked or removed outright using Datapacks. This section presumes you have a bit of familiarity with Datapacks and JSON, but if you need a refresher, there's information available on the Minecraft wiki, and a demo Datapack is linked in the description, which can be used to feel your way around. In order to prevent conflicts with other mods, all Scriptor resources are located within the Scriptor folder in the data directory. They're separated into a few different kinds of resources: generators, generator bindings, scraps, tomes, artifacts, and custom colors, reagents, and actions. First up, let's go over generators and generator bindings. Generators are the way Scriptor generates the words that it uses to populate its dictionary. These are located in the Scriptor/generators data directory. There are technically 4 kinds of generator, but 2 are the debug and community mode generators, which can't be customized and are generally only used through dedicated datapacks. If you wish to use these, please look at the community and debug datapacks located in the Scriptor Datapacks repository, which is linked in the description. This contains pretty much the only valid usage of each. More generators may be added in the future, but for now, they're relatively simple. First, the simpler of the two, the static token generator. This generator is used to make words always generate as something specific. It cannot be set as a default generator, so it requires explicit binding for each word you'd like to use it on. To use it, set the generator field to static_token. It only has one parameter, collision strategy. This is used to determine what happens when a static word is already in use. This can happen rarely with randomly generated words, but is generally indicative of incorrectly configured static generator bindings. There are 3 valid values for this. Fail, which causes the datapack to fail to load if a collision is detected. This is useful when developing datapacks to ensure that there are no conflicts between static bindings. Fallback, which causes words that would conflict with existing words to generate using the default generator instead. This is what is used by the default static generator that ships with Scriptor. Shorten, which causes words which would conflict with existing words to attempt to be shortened and retried. For instance, if there's already a word example, and a binding uses the same word, it would be shortened to example without the E. If no permutation exists that wouldn't conflict with another word, this will cause the datapack to fail to load. And that's it. Nothing complicated, and generally you're probably fine to bind words to the default static generator that ships the Scriptor. We'll get to bindings next, but first let's touch on the other generator type, the mixed group generator. The mixed groups generator is what you use to define your character set, more or less. Do you want Scriptor words to look fresh out of your conlang of choice, or fit with a specific aesthetic, but still be randomly generated so you and other players can discover them together? Then the mixed group generator is a thing for you. Now, while this is the more complicated of the generators, this is still fairly simple to conceptualize and configure. All it does is pick between a number of groups of tokens to generate words with some restrictions. To use this generator, set the generator field to mixed_groups. This generator can be used as a default generator, and setting default to true means that this one will be. Only one generator should be set to default at a time. This generator has the following parameters. Groups are the most important part of the mixed group generator. Each one is composed of 2 parts, a weight which determines how likely the group is to be picked relative to other groups, and the tokens that this group contains. Tokens is just a list of strings which are picked from when this group is selected. Min tokens is the lowest number of tokens that can be picked when generating a word. This is not the minimum number of characters, and if, for example, your token groups each contain options with 2 characters, and this is 2, the words generated could be up to 4 characters. Otherwise, straightforward. Max tokens is conversely the greatest number of tokens which can be picked from when generating a word. This comes with the same caveat as min tokens, where this is the number of tokens, not the number of letters. Max consecutive groups is how many characters are allowed to be picked from the same group in a row. If this is 1, the same group will never be picked twice in a row. And that's it. There's a sample mixed groups generator available in the demo data pack, which is linked in the description. Now, let's go over how to bind words to a specific generator. Generator bindings allow you to choose which generator to use for specific words, or to choose different parameters than the default for specific words. These are located in the Scriptor/bindings data directory. Each binding file allows you to bind multiple words, and some generators, like the static token generator, require you to explicitly bind each word which uses the generator. Simply specify the resource location of the generator to bind, which you can learn how to make in the previous section, in the generator field. Once you've done this, fill the bindings field with a list of word parameter pairs which specify the parameters required for each binding type. First off, let's get to the parameter used by the static token generator. And yep, you heard that right, there's just one, the word to generate, and it's required. Pretty straightforward, just put the word that'll generate in the token field, and when a dictionary is created, the token will be used for the word specified in the word field. And that's it. Well, with that one out of the way, let's move over to mixed group bindings. And keeping with the theme, parameters are simple for mixed group generators. There are 2 parameters which are both optional. You can choose to override the min tokens and max tokens parameters of the generator for this word if, for example, you wanted a specific word to be longer or shorter without specifying an additional generator. They do the exact same thing as they do in the generator. Alright, well that's word generation more or less covered. Let's move on to the actual spells that generate in a world. Tomes are the main way that players usually find words in Scriptor, and are also the simplest way to add new pre-assembled spells to the game. And, like most of the rest of the mod, tomes can be added, removed, or configured using Datapacks. Tomes may be critical, but they're also pretty simple to configure too. The first couple of things are the name and author of the tome, located appropriately enough under the keys of the same name. The author key can be any literal value, and the title can be either a literal value or a translation key. Next up is the tier, located under the tier key. This can be any integer value, but in the base mod it's only possible to get tiers 1 through 4. This just determines which tier of ancient tome this will be given as loot from. And now, the star of the show, the spell itself. Spells are composed of one subject, and any amount of groups of actions and a number of descriptors. Here's an example of a tome, and we can look at the spell it has. Each spell has one subject. This is how the spell is cast, and includes things like cast on self, projectile, and spell circle. Simply put the key of the subject to use in this field and you're good to go. You can find all available subjects in-game using the command dump_word subject. Next up comes the spells section. Since each spell can have any number of subspells consisting of one action and a number of descriptors, the spells field allows you to specify these subspells. For each item in the list, you can set one action, which specifies what the spell does to the target, and any number of descriptors, which otherwise modify this section of the spell or the spell as a whole. You can use some descriptors more than once, and can list all available actions and descriptors in-game using, respectively, dump_word action and dump_word descriptor. Bear in mind, using more than one item in the spell section will automatically add the AND keyword, which allows spells to contain more than one group of actions and descriptors. And that's it. Tomes are pretty simple, and are the way most spells are given to players. Next up are artifacts. Artifacts are another way that spells are given to players, though artifacts are generally more powerful since they receive a heavy cost discount and have no cost limit. Artifacts are also incredibly straightforward if you know how tomes work, as they only contain the name and spell fields, which function exactly as they do in tomes. To avoid repeating myself, just check the previous section if you're wondering how to use those. Last for spells are scraps. These are meant to be a way to get loose spell components that aren't attached to other spells to players. In the base mod, it's mainly used for colors and some loose inventory modifiers. Specifying scraps is also rather simple. Simply put the tier for which these words should be awarded into the tier field, and then list out the words to award in the keys field, and all the words listed will be added to that tier. Simple as that. Bear in mind, only tiers 1 through 3 are available in the base mod. Now that we've got the spells themselves, let's get into the nitty-gritty, creating individual spell components. Let's start with the simplest first, custom colors. Custom colors are incredibly simple. There's one key, color, which lists 6-digit color hex codes. In-game, spells of this color will automatically fade between these, or if there's only one color, will remain solidly that color. Colors are all descriptors, with the key color.namespace.name. For example, this color from the demo pack would be color.demo_pack.sample_color. And that's it. Pretty simple stuff. And speaking of simple, let's check out reagents. Reagents are a straightforward way to reduce spell cost, consuming one of an item and reducing the cost of a spell by a specified amount. These can either be used in combination with certain game rules to require players to spend items to cast spells at all, or just to give players an option for casting larger spells or reducing cooldowns. There are only two fields in a reagent resource, the item field, which specifies the item ID of the item to be consumed, and the cost field, which is how much the cost of the spell is reduced by. Reagents are also all descriptors, with the key reagent.namespace.name. For example, the reagent in the demo pack is reagent.demo_pack.sample_reagent. Next up are custom actions. These are the most complicated spell components, but they're still pretty simple overall. The simplest part of a custom action is the cost. This is straightforward. It just determines the cost and cooldown of the spell. Alright, now let's get to the good stuff. Every custom action requires at least one cast on position field to be defined. This is a list of commands which will be executed when the spell is cast. These commands will be cast positioned where the spell hit and have access to the special @caster selector, which always targets the spellcaster. Otherwise, these are just normal commands, so you can do anything with these as you can do normally. Next up, we have the cast on entity field. This is an optional field which contains commands that are run when this spell hits an entity. If a spell does hit an entity and cast on entity is defined, cast on position will be skipped entirely. These are also just normal commands, but they're cast from the location of the targeted entity and as it, so the @s selector will target this entity. These commands have access to the @caster special selector, as well as @target, which always targets the target entity. Lastly, cast on item is another optional field which is triggered when a spell targets an item or an inventory slot. When a spell is cast on an item or an inventory slot and this field is defined, This will be executed and both of the other cast methods will be skipped. These commands are executed as if the target item were in the main hand, and once they're done executing, the original item is replaced with a modified item. This has access to the @caster special selector, and if this is targeted at an entity's inventory, it will also have access to the @target special selector. As you can tell, custom actions are pretty powerful. They can be used to do all sorts of things, so I'm excited to see what y'all manage. Lastly, if you are working on custom content for Scriptor, there's a good chance you'd like to be able to disable default resources, or maybe you'd like to disable your test actions but leave them in the pack. Thankfully, this is easy. You can set the disabled field to true on any resource Scriptor loads, and it'll be prevented from loading until you remove it or set it to false. Alright, so you want to make something that you can't do with Datapacks. What are your options? Well, that's where we get into the last method of customization: add-ons. Now, most people aren't probably about to make a whole mod just to add features or spells into Scriptor, so I'll start off with the easier option: feature requests. Is there a feature you'd like to see in Scriptor? Open an issue with the enhancement template in the GitHub repository, or join the Discord and suggest a feature there. Unfortunately, I don't have unlimited time, so often I won't get to these in a timely manner, and sometimes they just don't line up with my vision of the mod. And that's okay, but it probably means that you will want to make this on your own, or have somebody else make it for you. And that brings us to the Scriptor Match Guy API. This is a relatively new API, so it might change in the future and it's a little bit simple, but it allows you to easily add new spell effects or casting methods to the mod. I won't be going into full detail here, but documentation is available in the GitHub repository, so check it out if you are interested. And that's it. Hopefully you can use the tools I went over in this video to customize Scriptor Magic Eye to your liking. Did I miss something, or is there some other way you think you should be able to tweak Scriptor? Are you making an add-on or a data pack, including Scriptor in a mod pack? Let me know in the comments, or join my Discord server at dc.blur.lol. Thank you for joining me on this educational journey, but until next time, take it easy.